Hey guys, it's Meredith Campbell, creator of Bump Sisters, and I'm so glad you're following me on my journey. So this is my first and official video for you, and I wanted to talk about what it is like having two babies. I have a 2-year-old, 2.5-year-old, as well as a newborn that's only 3 weeks, and recovering from a C-section the second time. And also my 50-pound weight loss story this go around. So a little bit of history about me. I gained 60 pounds with my first pregnancy, went into labor naturally at 41 weeks, and my baby was so ginormous that I just couldn't push him through, and after 2 hours of pushing, my doctor said we need to have a C-section. And turns out his head was like abnormally, he was like on the 98th percentile with his head, but everything else was, he ended up being 8 pounds 15 ounces, and I am a small person. I'm 5'1", and so gaining 60 pounds and pushing out an almost 9-pound baby was a lot for my body. Now, I know there's women that are shorter than me that can push out 11-pound babies, and I just want you to know that every body is different. So everyone is different. Every pregnancy is different. I did go through a lot of postpartum and feelings of failure during my first pregnancy because I didn't deliver the way that I had magically, dreamt of, and pushing a baby out and having a healthy pregnancy. And everyone, my first pregnancy kept telling me, oh, you work out all the time. You're gonna have no problem pushing that baby for the second time around and gaining 60 or 50 pounds, gaining 50 pounds. Okay, your uterus does the most work in the first 10 days after you deliver. So after you have a baby, your uterus is contracting. You're gonna have these awful period menstruational cramps that just are you're gonna feel like your stomachs are contracting back together, and that's exactly what it's doing. So your uterus is, think about it, if you think about it, you grow a baby and your uterus expands and it pushes everything else, all your other organs aside, and your body does amazing things when it's pregnant. It's really a cool thing that it's able to expand and contract. So after the first 10 days, after you deliver your baby, your body, your uterus is contracting. So that's what all those cramps are for. You're holding on to a lot of water and retaining a lot of water. I did naturally. I'm 5'1", and I just held on to a lot of water weight. Now, 3 weeks later, it took me 2 weeks to lose 25 pounds. So 2 weeks, I've lost 25 pounds. So 3 weeks later, I'm still about that same weight. So I went into the hospital at 178, and I'm now at 154, or 153, 154, just depending on what time I weigh myself, which I feel good about it. It's definitely an instant ego boost, losing all that weight, but a lot of that weight is fluid, blood, just getting rid of a lot of things. So it's really important that you stay hydrated from the get-go, leaving the hospital the second you're discharged. Okay, so I had a couple bumps in the road during my 3 weeks. Normally, you get out of the hospital 3 days later. I was discharged 2 days later because 1, it was Thanksgiving and I wanted to go home to my family, and 2, it was my second time around. So I knew what to do. Everyone was healthy. My baby was fine. I was okay. So we put on our best face and we said, please let us go home for Thanksgiving. And they let us go home. So I was in the hospital for exactly 48 hours. Everything was smooth in the hospital. Everything went well. And so we got home, and day 3 and day 4 are probably the hardest days after your recovery from a C-section. And that's just because, the aches and pains, your medicine from the hospital is starting to wear off, and you're taking other medicine that the doctor has prescribed for you. So depending on who your doctor is, where you deliver, all different types of things, you could be just like I had ibuprofen. That's all I've been really taking. And I only took it for about a week until week 2. So I was off my medicine completely for an entire week until week 2. So week 2, about 14 days out, exactly 12 days out, I came down with a fever of 102. And initially I thought, oh my gosh, I'm sick. Something happened to me. And then your discharge papers from the hospital will explain if you have a fever that it's a sign of an infection and you need to call the doctor. So I had a 2-week checkup appointment with my doctor, which I highly recommend that you schedule after a cesarean. With my first pregnancy, I went in just because I was nervous, and then my tapes were falling off and everything was completely fine. This time my doctor scheduled a 2-week appointment with me, and that does not clear you to work out or do anything extravagant, lift anything heavy. You're really not supposed to do anything for 6 weeks after a C-section delivery, versus a vaginal delivery, which destroys your pelvic floor, which, is a whole nother story. We'll talk about that later. But with a C-section, you're really not supposed to do any heavy lifting. Use, you're not supposed to really take baths or get in the pool and go swimming. You're not supposed to work out. You're also not supposed to have sex. So there's a lot of things that your body needs to heal first before you go into your transformation, which is about 6 weeks out. So right about 2 weeks out, I had a fever of 102. So I called my doctor. I did have an appointment scheduled. I did go to the emergency room, and it was just not a good experience. So anyways, I ended up waiting to go see my doctor. And what had happened was my fever was a sign of an infection. And luckily, it was not a sign of infection from my surgery, but an infection from mastitis. So mastitis, I know it sounds so scary, but really what that is an infection in your breasts from nursing. You can get it many different ways. Sometimes it's the bacteria from the baby's mouth. Sometimes it's from a plugged duct, or you're basically producing so much milk that you're not expressing enough for the baby, because at this point the baby only needs a few ounces during a feeding every couple of hours. And if you're producing 4 to 5 ounces, that's a lot. Typically your body will absorb that back in, but sometimes you get plugged ducts and you will get an infection. So that happened to me. Within 2 days, I was completely fine. I felt normal. I no longer had a fever. So I did take antibiotics, but I did pump a little bit extra. So I've been exclusively breastfeeding my newborn, which is just, for me, it's easier. I personally don't like wearing the pump. I know I'll use it later on, but I know there's a lot of moms that pump exclusively and then feed their babies through bottle fed. Totally fine. I mean, again, this is all about you being in love with your life and taking this newborn and bringing a newborn into this world in a loving environment. So if that means you have to breastfeed, bottle feed, or formula, it doesn't matter. You don't look at people on the street now and go, oh, that person was breastfed and that person was a cesarean and that person was a vaginal delivery. You don't really notice those things nowadays. Obviously, a vaginal delivery is better because it expresses all of the extra fluids out of the baby. But if you have to have a cesarean, no big deal. No big deal. You just have a little bit longer recovery. Okay, things to expect in the first 3 weeks of your recovery. So your first week, the most important thing that you do is you get up and you start walking, and walking very slowly, holding onto a wall. Some people can get up and walk right away. Some people need a little bit more recovery time. So I want you to know that it's totally fine with the speed of your recovery, and just get up and move a little bit. Another thing to expect is your emotions. Expect high highs and low lows. There'll be moments where you just cry for no reason at all, and moments where you laugh. For some reason, my husband thinks he's a comedian during my C-section recoveries, and he's the funniest person I've ever met. I mean, he's pretty funny because I married him and I love him, but he's like the funniest person. And my 2-year-old was even funnier. I mean, they just made me laugh. I don't know why, and it hurt so bad. But know that it's okay. You can always, if you have to cough or laugh, you can hold a pillow over. You want to try to avoid doing those things, which can be hard, but you can hold a pillow over your incision, and it will lighten the impact a little bit. Okay, so breastfeeding. When you're breastfeeding for the second time around, typically your milk will come in faster, and boy, was that true for me. My milk came in like day 2. I was ready to go. I entered the hospital with my first son. He lost a lot of weight in the hospital, and I had to give him formula because it took about 5 days for my milk to come in, which is typical for a new mom, anywhere between 2 to 5 days for milk to come in. It took me 5 days for my milk to come in. So with my first, my son lost a full pound, which was borderline scary. I did have to go in and do a couple extra doctor's appointments with him, but after 5 days, he totally caught up. We also had to give him a tiny bit of formula, which I was okay with, even though I was exclusively planning on breastfeeding, but we had to give him a little bit of formula just so he can get back up to his birth weight. With this pregnancy, my second one, even with a cesarean, I was still planning on, hey, my milk won't come in time, and I might have to give formula to my newborn. This is not the case. I had full-on big milk jugs ready to rock and roll on day 2. So my baby lost, I think, 3 ounces in the hospital. He was 7 pounds, 9.5 ounces, and he lost 3 ounces, which is totally fine, completely normal. He was back up to his birth weight within 5 days. He exceeded his birth weight after a full week, which is great. So he was completely fine on that end as well. All right, so I'm going to walk you through what my body looks like right now. We're 3 weeks out, and I'm just wearing a normal sports bra. This is actually a nursing sports bra that I got with my first pregnancy, and I kept it. And then these are shorts that I love to wear, but they are a size bigger, even though they don't look like it. I bought them during my pregnancy so I can have a little bit of extra room to grow, and then also feel comfortable in some spandex type clothes. So here I am, 3 weeks out. So this is 3 weeks out. My belly has gone down tremendously. I've lost 25 pounds, but I have a lot of loose skin. Now, I had a really fit pregnancy, and I was able to stay active throughout the entire thing, and I was actually encouraged by my doctors, and I had abs going into it before. I did gain a lot of extra weight around my hips and my butt area, but that's normal for my body type. If I even look at a cookie, it will immediately slap itself onto my bum. So here we are, 3 weeks out. I'm jumping ahead of myself. So here I am, 3 weeks out. I have a lot of loose skin, and then also, if you notice my back, I just have these flaps that hang down. This is not normal for me, and obviously like big, huge love handles. So, and my butt is pretty wide too. I will be sharing my measurements with you too, so you know that it is measurements and weight. It's not, one or the other, so you'll see a lot of things shrink. I will hold on to about 10 extra pounds while I'm nursing. So once I quit nursing, I'll lose a ton, like at least 10 more pounds, but I will hold on to that. Also, my arms stayed kind of not really where I like them to be, but they are just kind of loose, and I haven't had any real physical activity for about 3 or 4 weeks. My last week, I just really took some time for myself, and so this is kind of it. Okay, so some goals that I have for myself in the next few days or the next few weeks. I have about 3 more weeks exactly until I see my doctor again at my 6-week checkup. So my goals for the next few weeks is really just walking more. I will start incorporating some light workouts with weights that are lower than what my newborn weighs. So my newborn is about 8 pounds. So anything less than 8 pounds, I can start to lift and start to do. One thing that bothers me, and you'll notice when you're going through your pregnancy, a lot of the times we're pulled forward from a lot of, your belly's so big and everything. So we're pulled forward. So a lot of times we tend to roll forward just because it feels comfortable. So I've noticed little things in my back, and I did spend a lot of time during this pregnancy strengthening my back, but I do notice like now I'm always hunched forward because I'm always nursing, I'm always cradling a newborn. So those are kind of activities that you want to make sure that you're really opening up your shoulders and strengthening your back. So I will be sharing with you some exercises that will help with that. They are safe to do after a cesarean, right between that 3 and 6 week mark where you're not really approved to work out, but you can start to do certain exercises. The only exercises you want to do the first 10 days is walking. One is walking. The second one will be holding your belly in like it's a corset. Right after you have that baby, your insides are completely shot. So whether you have a vaginal delivery or a cesarean delivery, everything is just completely gone. You have no muscle tone. You can't even feel your muscles. Your belly feels like a bowl full of mush. So after about 3 weeks, you can start to feel, if you had abs before, you can start to feel a little bit of ab muscles in there, reconnecting themselves and gaining that strength back. But really, it's going to take about, and everyone's different. It's going to take about 6 months to a year to fully recover. I know my body, it's going to take me a full year to fully recover from this pregnancy. It was about a year to be pregnant, a year to recover. When you have your cesarean, a lot of people think that they get scared because you're being cut open. And really, they're only cutting 2 things. One is your skin. So they're cutting through the layers of your skin and fat. And the other thing that they cut is your uterus. So your abs actually don't get cut. They do get pulled apart or pulled to the side, or they are able to work around those. So that's why, you might feel that separation in between your abs at first. So one thing that you want to know is that you need a full 6 weeks to recover from your incision inside. I would even give yourself 12 weeks before you do any really hardcore, strenuous activity. I'm gradually going to get back into my routine. I do like doing a lot of high impact exercises as well as lifting heavy, and I do a lot of physical activity. I love working out, but it's going to be a lot for me to get back to the point of where I was before I got pregnant. So just know that it's going to be a process. So mentally, I'm in such a better place this second time around than the first time. The first time I looked at my body and I was just like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? How is this going to get put back together? And I really put a lot of pressure on myself being in the fitness industry to recover in 3 months. And while that can be realistic for some women, it was not realistic for me. And once I got to that 3-month mark and I still had another 25 pounds to lose and 20 something inches to go, I became depressed. And I put a lot of pressure on myself to, be fit and to be the role model and the example of what we should look like just months after giving birth. And the reality is everyone's different. And I'm really at a better place now, knowing that it's not about what you look like, it's about how you feel. And yeah, sometimes when we look better, we feel better, but really at the end of the day, working out and eating right is so important for us, so important for our families, for raising our children, for our mental health, as well as our physical health too. So know that it may take some time and just be patient with yourself. Try not to go overboard with the working out, especially at the beginning, and don't diet down and risk your milk supply if you're nursing and put all that stress on yourself, because you're just going to drive yourself insane. I know, I did it. I suffered from postpartum depression for about 8 months after my first one. I'm in such a better place now because I know what to expect. I know it's going to be a long road. I know this first month is really challenging and really difficult. And I know to expect bumps. So when you expect those things going in, it makes it a lot easier coming out. And it's really hard as a first-time mom to understand that concept. I think second-time moms, or if it's your third time, you're like, yep, here I am. I'm just surviving, just gonna make it work. First-time moms, you're like, I'm not gonna get stuck with 80 pounds of extra baby weight. And you put that pressure on yourself. And trust me, if you work at it, it will go away. But if you let yourself obsess over a number on a scale, you're going to drive yourself into a very bad place mentally, in my opinion. So know that it's completely normal to take extra time or take a full year to recover from a pregnancy. It took 9 months to have this baby, 9 months to create this baby. So 9 months to recover or a year to recover is completely normal. All right, thank you guys for watching, and I will update you with the next update on my road to recovery, getting my body back after baby number 2 and having a C-section.